Right. Hi, everybody. I'm Nettie K. I'm hoping I got this right every week. It's always something. My husband had to go off and teach a class tonight, and you know, I'm on my own here. So, with the new computer, trying to figure out if I'm doing this right. I hope I am. I'm going to look at my little screen and say, "Oh, yeah, it says I'm doing something." Streaming. So, you know, gals, technically challenged today. Tonight, we're going to be doing a little bit of a still life. I know it doesn't sound really exciting, but I think it's something that you need to learn. Last week, we did some glazing of flowers, and we've done, what have we done? Oh, we've done a big rooster, we've done a vase with flowers, we've done all kinds of different things, a deer, yes. And there are a myriad of wonderful, hopefully wonderful to you, videos on my YouTube site. So you can always, at any time, go on and watch my YouTube videos on NettieKStudio. But I'm so glad that you've joined me tonight. And I wanted to give a little special shout out to my student Terry, who's taking care of her mom. Hi, Mom. And also one of my viewers, Jane. Hi, Jane. And my old assistant, he's not that old, Chance. I hope you're watching. All right. So those are my shout outs for right at the moment. So I've got a few artifacts. I've been doing that HelloFresh thing, lately, where they send you food in and so they can teach you how to cook. And my husband doesn't eat onions. So guess what? I've got a boatload of things like, well, I don't think that's an onion. It's a scallop or something. No, scallop, that's a fish thing. Oh, scallion. Oh, hello. And I have this wonderful little purple onion here. I should eat them, I know, but I'd rather paint them. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I have this really cool, you know, who knows what in the world that is, but it's pretty neat. It's striped and it looks either like a crazy mutant zucchini or a squash of some kind. I'm not exactly sure. So I'm going to have these. You can see them over here on the side of my screen in my big copper bowl. And generally, when I'm doing a still life, what I like to do is have a single light source on the still life. And what we'll do at one point, at some point in the future, I'm going to teach you a little bit about making what's called a shadow box. Shadow box, I think that's what it's called, where you have, it's basically a cardboard box set up on its side, and you put all of your little veggies in there, and then you let a light shine through either a little hole in the top or a panel that we pull aside, and it really makes a very interesting little view. Okay, so meanwhile, what else have I got going here? All right, oh, I better put that in the right spot. I've even got some beets in that bowl, but they're down in the bottom. I don't think we'll be able to see them. So anyway, let us take a look at a few bits of paint. I've got just some of my usual medium, and that's that Neo Magelp. Remember that? That's my medium right there. Oh, maybe I should put the label forward so you can see it. Good Lord, where'd it go? Now I've got white paint on myself. Really fun. Neo Magelp, and it's from Gamblin. I don't get paid for that. And then I've got a little jar of thinner and some brushes and the usual stuff and things to wipe off the messes that I make. So, and a big old canvas. I use this canvas. I've actually put chalk on there and used it as a chalkboard too. So anyway, I'm going to figure out where you guys can see. make a mark right here. And I may do a little bit of a rearranging of my scene over here because it's a little silly looking. Maybe I'll get these brushes out of the way. Yeah, we had a dinner that ran a little bit late tonight, so I'm kind of not quite set up the way I want to be. But, you know, that doesn't slow us down. No, it doesn't. Okay. So one of the fun things about doing a still life, still lifes are some of my, just love doing them because you get your shapes down. I'm going to look down here, mark right about that. I see that? Yes. And you can too. Excellent. All right. We'll just make that the bottom of the table. Now, I want also to get some white. I found a tube of my dad's white flake lead flake white, which is a little scary because it's lead. It was so heavy, man, it was heavy. And it felt like it was solid as a rock. So I almost tossed it and I thought, no, no, I'm going to see something. I took a hammer to it and I beat the tar out of this flake white tube. And then I broke it open with a pair of scissors. And the paint was still really good. You just have to add linseed oil to it. When you have a tube that's kind of a little bit solidified, sometimes you can just get some straight linseed oil, pour that on, and just work it onto a glass plate. That's what I did with a little palette knife, and it came back to life. I've mixed some beautiful flesh tones with it, having a lot of fun. Now, you do want to wear some gloves when you're messing with lead paint, and don't be sanding it down when it dries because, yeah, it can make you a little bit sick. Don't recommend it, but it really is an amazing, amazing paint in the long run. Okay, so now I've got my white out. I've got some transparent orange. I've got some quinacridone violet. And we'll just keep messing around adding more colors as we need them. But I can do a lot with that. Okay, with those colors, I can do a lot with that. And so I'm going to start out by putting in, I'm going to put my little onion right about here. Okay, I'm going to put it right here. I'm going to try to stay out of the way. I'm going to put in the shape of that onion, kind of like that. Isn't that the most beautiful color? And I'm just going to base it out. Just kind of get the shape of it like this. Then I'm going to add, I'm going to wipe off my brush, and I'm going to take a little bit of gold ochre or yellow ochre or raw sienna, whatever you have. And I'm going to put up one that goes behind it. And part of what makes things look three-dimensional, is that you overlap, okay? If I put this right next to it, exactly the same size, and then I put my little squash right next to it and line it up, well, it doesn't have any dimension at all. You need to take advantage of overlapping things. And so I'm going to overlap that like that. One time I overlapped something and it looked like it was, up here somewhere. That was really embarrassing. But I've got a little bit of that red color in there too, like that. And then I've got this shallot thing. What does that look like? Well, let's see. I think I'm going to put in, before I do that, I'm going to take my orange. This is my transparent orange. And I'm going to come up here like this. I'm going to make a little copper pot. Okay, so I'm just making the base of that copper pot like this. Sometimes I do this, you guys. I take a line and I go straight up and down with the line. May not look, oh, it does look straight up and down. Hey, that's awesome. Okay, I'm going to get a little medium on there. And then I can see how I'm doing. I can measure out on each side of that copper pot, doing that so that I don't have a lopsided whatever. You know how you draw the outside of the United States, and when you're in the third grade, and it somehow Maine ends up where Florida is supposed to be. You want to have some lines to give you a little bit of a hint. So now I got to decide how far up am I going to make the lip of that copper pot. There it is. That's a good spot right there. coming up about 4 inches there. And then I have to decide how wide it's going to be. Well, I'm probably going to do it about almost life size. So life size makes it easier. You know why? Because you don't have to do all the mathematics of trying to figure out how to scale it up or scale it down. Just make it the same size as it is, and you do it just that way. Okay, so I've got this coming out like this, and then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to try to make that line the same as this line, only just a little bit like that. And then I'm going to close my eye a little bit. I know you guys can't see this very well, but I'm going to close my eye and not both of them. No, leave one eye open so you can see what you're. Okay, we'll save that for another day. Okay, but wouldn't that be fun to do a whole painting lesson with my eyes closed? Yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to look at my picture and I'm going to say, okay, the back of that bowl or that colander is roughly right about there. Okay, and then I'm going to come around and I'm going to kind of connect those up a little bit like that and roughly swing it around like this. Okay, and then I can take this and bring down the sides there. Oh yeah, that's good. And bring down the sides like this, just like that. All right, so it looks, you know, pretty good. Doesn't look like it's going to spill out. I think it's all right. Okay, good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of that one thing. I'm going to grab a little bit of my copper and, or not my copper, but my gold, and I'm going to put in, I'm going to send that zucchini thingy right up over the edge. Kind of interesting that way. All right, here's a zucchini thing that's in the bowl. Bring that down more. I don't have room for my onion. I've got to get room for my onion. So this next onion is a little bit of an orangish, pinkish thing. All right, I'm going to probably have to make it. So, you know, if you can't adjust, don't paint, because you got to always be able to adjust a little bit. And I'm seeing I've got some of that onion, another onion inside there like that. I've also got a weird stick coming out of it that is actually a dried garlic from one of my friends that actually grows garlic. Have fun. Okay, so now I think because I need that onion in there, I'm going to now make an adjustment and bring that out. I'm not stuck. It's only paint. I can make my bowl a little wider if I want. And I think I will. Okay, I'm going to put a little medium on my brush. And I'm going to kind of do this. I'm just going to patch it in a middle dark tone, get rid of that line right there. And I've got the basis of a pretty good little still life. Now, I want to see what this is doing. I think it's a little wider at the bottom, and it'll overlap a little bit. I'm not going to get too carried away with too many things. We could use one more little thing, so I'm going to add, let's see, this scallion. Let's see, scallion is going to come, yeah, I'll send it off to the side. That'd be cool. Just a sec, I got to kind of organize it. But yeah, something over here. All right, it's kind of pinkish. I'm going to get a little bit of that purple, a little bit of yellow, and some white, maybe a little orange. So orange and purple and brown and a bunch of different colors. I'm going to come up. I don't know if I want that on the same plane. Okay, well, we'll just do it. For today, we'll do this. And then I'm going to make this little scallion that looks kind of a little bit like a fish. And we'll shoot that up just for fun. So here's the rule. Here is the rule. Not that this is going to be a great masterpiece. It's a lesson. That's what it is. You either overlap your articles, or you separate them entirely. Let me say that again. You either overlap your things or you separate them out. Okay. You don't, I don't want to bump this little scallion right up next to this or next to the bowl. That's called what Helen Van Wyck used to call it, a kiss or a bump, and it just doesn't work because your eye doesn't know where to go. So that's the first little bit on this, okay, to do that kind of a thing. Now, I want to find, I've a little bit of leftover yellow from earlier project. And I'm going to now come up with my medium. I find that I have discovered that when you're using a can of paint, you know, you get a little, you think, oh, this is a better deal per ounce. Unfortunately, the top part just dries up and you end up throwing out half of it. So got to be careful of that sometimes. I'm going to just give this a little bit of a stripe by putting in a little bit of light yellow and a little bit of the orange, transparent orange, with a little bit of white. And I'm just putting that in like this and creating this illusion. I've got this fat 3/4 inch brush. That's not too bad. Not a tiny little brush that I'm drawing everything out. No, try to stay away from those tiny brushes. Stay away those. Okay, now get a little more white on my brush, and I'm going to put in some little indications of stripes. Now, what is the shape of this? Well, it's a cylinder, okay? A little bit lumpy, but it's a cylinder. There, it looks like it's leaning out over the top of that. So that means I need to bring my bowl out, adjust, 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 adjust the song. Bring that bowl out a little bit farther. Give this a little bit. I can see that on my brush, so I'm going to do that. Give it a little bit of a light there. Go. Now, I'm missing a color. I got to find it real fast. I'm missing something in the blue realm. And so just for the moment, I'm going to pull up, oddly, I love cobalt teal. Ooh, one of my favorite colors. I love it. And I think I will find something a little darker. This one's ultramarine blue. You can see I get them in big tubes, not the little ones. I have some little ones that I use of my dad's collection that I inherited from my father when he passed away. And they are amazing paints. They're the kind of schminky paints. Try saying that 3 times and spelling it backwards. The schminky paints are very, very high quality. Well, what does that mean? It means that there's more pigment in every tube of paint. They're very, very strong. All right. You know, it's always the one your cat steps in on your white carpet. It takes a lot of white to dilute them because they're so powerful. They're just paints. But I like having the large tubes for big, huge projects. I don't want to waste that yummy paint on anything that isn't just beautiful. I think, you know, you never know. This might turn out really amazing. Who knows? So now I've got a little bit of dark blue, and I'm going to mix it with a little bit of the orange. I'm going to give myself a little bit of a green color. I'm going to put that in. It's darker. Okay, it's darker because it's kind of in the shadow. This is a shadow down here. I'm going to put a little bit more blue in it. Nice shadow. And then I'll make a little bit of a purpley blue, and then we'll come around and I'm going to give it a little bit of a line here. Let's see. Keep adjusting it, and it can grow a lot. So this is the dark side of the colander right there. The light's coming from over here. Okay, get a big arrow. Can you see that arrow? Here's my arrow. Ooh. Light's coming from over here. You want to make sure that your dark side, everything has a dark, a middle tone, and a light. For all you guys that are just learning, and a reminder for the ones that aren't just learning, have been doing this wrong. Every object has a dark, a middle tone, and a light. And then beyond that, you can add a cast shadow and a highlight. Okay, so let's just say for a second, this is the middle tone here. Okay, now I'm going to put a middle tone. It doesn't really look like this colander, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to give it a little bit more of that orange color. A little bit here, And then say, for instance, if the light's coming from over here, it probably would only hit right about there, but look how that all of a sudden just shines. I'm going to just put a little bit right here, and it begins to bring the pot forward. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit here where I think the light might be. And I'm going to wipe off my brush again, and I'm going to come back in and reverse it a little bit to where it has a little, what am I doing here? I've got to put the middle tone back in over here. Keep wiping my brush off. I keep wiping my brush off. And then I'm going to come in with this brush and I'm going to go like this. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Wiggle, 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 wiggle all the way down. And it begins to kind of create this wonderful thing where it merges the colors together and the tonal values together without obliterating it, like you're painting a wall. Painting, you want to have marks. When you're painting a wall, you don't want to have marks. Painting a paint, I have something looks like a mark. Okay. So now with this, again, this little thing is going to get darker as it goes away from the light. So see now it's sticking up like a piece of cardboard. I'm going to come back in and I'm going to make it a little bit darker as it goes into the pot. Okay. There we go. So now it looks a little bit more round, and then merge that like that. Now here is my little onion up here. I'm going to take some dark blue and some red or some quinacridone violet, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to create a dark side of this little bat. I'll make it big. My painting, I can do whatever I want. See, the still life setup will be all torn down and nobody's going to really see that. So you're the only one that knows what it looked like. Whatever you want. Put a butterfly. All right, so now I have that, and now I'm going to put in a highlight onto that onion right here. I've got just kind of a little highlight, and it kind of pops up like this. And I'm seeing that down here, so I'll slap that onto as I go. All right, now what am I doing down here? This is fun. This is fun. I'm going to show you how to make the most amazing onion. I hope. I'm going to get my medium on, my brush, and I'm putting on some that transparent orange, okay, with a tiny bit of white. All right. Now I'm going to come across this. I hope I can remember how this is done. I'm going to come across this like this. This is kind of where the lighter part of onion goes. Like you just reckon your onion. But no, I'm not. And now I'm going to take a little more white and I'm going to go above that with my white, and I'm taking a smile across the form right there. And then I'm going to go darker with the dark purple and the blue, and I'm going to go down under it. Oops, I got a little white on my brush. Oh well, it won't kill it. I'm going to go back into the blue, the purple, dark colors. There we go. I'm going to make a little smile like that. And I'm going to also take that purple with the blue. I'm going to create, oh, maybe a little bit with the teal too. Try that. Teal. Create a little bit of a shadow underneath. A little shadow, not a square shadow. It's a round thing. I got to fix that. Fancy rags, that always helps. All right, let's do one more stripe of that. It. Okay, so basically it looks a little bit like a cue ball. Now, on top, I'm going to come across that way. What am I going to do next? Well, I've put it on one direction, and then I'm going to make the effects by going across the line perpendicularly and also thinking about the roundness of the shape. I know this is a little bit far away, but I'm going to take my brush, wipe it off, and then without, I don't want to hear your brush going on this one. I want this, just the most delicate little form of you're just barely touching the top layer of the paint, essence of paint, and you're coming across like this, and then you're going to come across very lightly and make a round form going this way. Okay, then I come around that, and then I come around what's that. Now I'm going to come across the other side. I'm going to flatten that out a little. Across this, barely touching it, but the light is still there. Light is still there, but got this wonderful variation. Look, now you can do hair that way. Put a stroke of light and brown and a bit darker, and then do the hair the same way. We'll do that again in another lesson. But for now, this is pretty awesome. Fill that in. Practically cleaning my brush off. And then, okay, over here, maybe I should do a whole bunch of them, maybe some really big ones. Really see what I'm talking about. All right, this one's got a little bit of a greenish tinge to it, and some. Let's see, got all kinds of colors. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to come across the top of that with a light color. Now I hope you should be able to see that. Yeah, you should. Okay, and then I'm going to go a little bit darker. It's a tan color with maybe a little bit of a greenish color, which I've made with my blue and a yellowish color. I'm going to go underneath that. A bit darker. Gold ochre and blue. I think it needs to have a little more warmth up on top. That. I probably should have done the back one first, but I'm a little excited about that crazy thing. I think I want to put just a little more of brown difference. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to take my brush and then come across. I'm not going straight across, you guys, because that would make your totally flat. The onion is round. It's round. So when you're doing the stroke, putting it down, you're putting it this way, little smiles. And then when you're affecting it or creating the effect on top of the smile, you're going across it as though you're sculpting it. Every time you paint, don't forget to think about sculpting. You're looking at your subject and you're sculpting with paint. You're having the guts to try to put a two-dimensional effect, a three-dimensional effect on a two-dimensional surface. That's just kind of crazy, but that's what we're all about, isn't it? We're trying to do that. Okay, so here's the little smiley lines. I could have done them the other way too, but I didn't. Okay, and now I'm going to come over around very carefully and wipe off my brush and then come up across and skip across the top of this one. Cross it. It's this little illusion of oniondom. And then I'm going to put in a little, where's the knot on this one? Well, if I had done this properly, it would have been going the other direction. I think I'm going to put it over here. I'll just make a little knot kind of coming up like with some old, oh, I messed that one up. Oh, well. Okay, now I'm going to put that blue down there and do it again. I can that so that this goes away from the light a little bit. Just using my brush as a tool to away from. Okay. Now this part I want to also create a little doodad where this goes like this to where we can kind of feel like it. There's a thing of. I'm not really concerned with that right now because I really just want to teach you a little bit about form. Now, okay, when we get this Then I also want to put in a cast shadow here, all right? So it's not floating in space. If you don't have your cast shadow, it doesn't sit down, just boots around everywhere. You want to be able to have your cast shadow, this preferably all in the same color. Good. Now your cast shadow is not the opposite color of the object. Get that mixed up. Think, oh, if I have a green pepper, I gotta have a red shadow. No, really, your shadow should be kind of complementary or opposite to the surface, okay, your table. And I'm not exactly sure what my tablecloth is going to look like yet, because so if I had a yellow tablecloth, I'd have a purple shadow. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. Anybody out there? Okay. Now I'm just kind of creating this shadow. Now, right underneath this guy, right underneath, I'm going to take some really, really, really dark value, the very darkest value, meaning light, middle, dark, not how much it costs or how much it's worth, is going to be, the darkest part is going to be right where this thing sits and hits the table, right there, okay? Hit the table right there, and it's called, I'm going to call it the parting line that separates the object from the surface it's sitting on. I'm going to do the same thing here. I need a very dark value, and I'm running out of paper. That's being prepared is always a good thing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now also this is coming up. So I'm going in with my dark blue, and this one has got kind of a parting line right there. And then there's some little ripples that I'm bake in there. You can take your time and do a little better job than what I'm doing. But here as well, there's where that thing hits the table. What's happening down here underneath the scallion? Well, there's this dark thing, dark shadow, that is going to set that little fishy down. And here's another thing. Shadows don't have sharp edges. Okay, there's kind of a sharp line that kind of happens underneath things where they hit the table, but they don't have a sharp edge. If I put a sharp edge on that shadow, I should say not shadows, but yeah, shadows don't. But if I put a sharp edge on the cast shadow, it looks like the vegetables are hanging over a hole in. So that means I can take my shadow, it can be dark, but I can take my little rag and fuzz out the edge of that a little bit. They were already pretty fuzzy, but it gives it a little more of that wonderful, feeling of just kind of atmosphere rather than making a hole in the table. There are very few things in nature or man-made, yes, but there are very few things in nature that have sharp edges. Okay, very few things about it. Yeah, most things are round and soft. So anything that's going back into space is going to be soft. And the more you soften those edges, the more volume the object will feel like it has. Right. So now I've got this scallion. Let's work on him a little bit. I'm getting a little bit of purple with gold ochre. Oh my gosh, it's really more pink. All right, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to put that gold dark. This one seems to have a dark little area on the top. And then a little bit right here. It's really strange. Oh, it's kind of shiny. I'm going to have to do this a couple of times. So I'm giving it a few. Okay, let's do the same thing with this. Okay, only this time I'm going to go backwards. Same kind of thing. Where's my highlight? Well, my highlight's right about here. For some reason, I think it's these studio lights. But I'm going to just do it anyway. Okay, so I'm going to make it go like that. And then I'm going to take some orange and then maybe some pink and more pink over here. That. And then some going this way, this way, this way. Okay, now I've done it backwards a little bit so you can see, you can do it both ways. flatten my brush out, and then I'm going to come across and create the lines. This time I'm just going to clip it on the side of my brush and see what happens. Kind of dragging the paint that with just my brush that way. It makes it look like there's striations. And then I'm going to do it one more time. I have a bath after. Whoa, yeah. If I'll have to call 911. So now I'm going to come in and just barely graze it. Put it like, and then I can go back in and put more highlights on. If I want, I can take my corner of my brush and say, oh, there's an extra highlight there. I restate that highlight. That, or else do I? That's about it. And then I can also come back over here and think about if I see more highlights, I can a little bit more highlight there. Find, maybe there's one, who knows? In line with the light I'm throwing a right. Let's see, what else trouble can I get into? Oh, of course, this one up here I haven't really done much with. This is Onion Day. Whoa. And I'm going to pull it this direction. I don't care if it's real. I want these more distinct because they're forward, all right? This one's in the background, so I don't want him having the same amount of detail as this guy right here because that's really what I want you to look at. Okay, so now I'm going to wipe this brush off. I should get a towel here. And then I'm going to get my brush damp again with the medium. Fog that out just there. Whoops, I lost my shadow. Shadow back in. I think I'll put a little turquoise in. Okay, now I'm going to now think about how off center my pot is. A little off center. Okay. Anyway, I can always fix that later. I'll fix that later. Not too bad. This one has some little gold handles on it too. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want to think about what it's sitting on, what this thing is sitting on, because the whole thing's kind of floating in space. So now I'm going to come in with a little bit of white, and I'm going to think about this side of the bowl. Actually, this side of the bowl is going to be here, and I'm just really, why am I doing this? Well, background. I think I'll pull that in just a little. Work. Why don't you paint the background first? Husband used to always ask me that. Well, you don't know what you're going to need until you get into your painting, and oil painting is just like that. Now, if you're doing a landscape, often you're going to do the sky, the thing farthest back, then you layer it up and you go forward, kind of like Bob Ross used to, until he hits the foreground and it's, ta-da, this is great. And so you start with the soft colors and you move forward and you get soft blues and purples, and then you add oranges and reds and all this kind of stuff until the intensity is really, really intense. When you're doing still life, it's a little bit different, okay? And I'll tell you why. Okay, I've got this here, got this background, I'm painting into it. I got to figure out where the table is too. Got it way up here. And I'm going to put this down here. I'm going to make this nice and light. I don't know how the light's even getting there. I'm going to make a shadow here. But okay, for instance, all right, over here, probably same thing. Some of you more mature artists are going, oh my gosh, what the heck is she doing? Me too. Okay, so now I'm going to come up and I'm just going to give something. The reason I'm doing this is I'm trying to give something for this rounded copper pot to go into, and also this down in here. I'm going to put in a little bit of teal. teal with white. I'm just kind of messing around. A little teal and yellow and white, and there we go. A little teal. I like that teal. Ooh, that's yummy. A little bit of teal, a little bit more stuff on it. Boy, am I enjoying this. I hope you try this at home, everybody. Something. Get excited. Get excited about paint. You can grab anything. Grab your husband, grab your cat, but still life will hold still. So that's the joy of still life painting, is that you have something that will not run off and say, oh, I got to go watch football. You know, got this marvelous setup that you can put on your own special corner, and it stays there for a while. I always say the painting's done when the fruit flies come out. Okay. Well, I've painted several Nobel laureate scientists for Caltech years ago when I was doing portraits, and that's an experience. But I was doing a painting of a man, his name, Thomas H. Morgan, who discovered genes and chromosomes in the 30s. And so I went to Caltech and I said, okay, does anybody have any of the kind of glass jars that they might have had, or microscopes that they would have had in the 30s? And then one of the men who is a scientist, he actually ended up getting a Nobel Prize too later on after I met him, gave me jars with fruit flies in them, cotton side, and stuffed them with a cork. And so I took these bugs home with me, and oh, look at my treasures. I've got bugs, I got fruit flies, don't open that. And so we had those to look at, and it really kind of puts you right there. So anyway, fruit flies are my friend. Okay. Isn't that kind of yummy? It just kind of, wait, I feel, block off all the outside, focus in on that. Looks kind of fun. Okay, so this is still off, but okay, so why am I doing that? Well, look how soft this is down here because I put that around it. Now I can come in, and I do this with faces and vases. I can come in with a clean brush, relatively clean brush. Notice I've only used one brush this whole night. I'm going to come along here for sake of demonstration. I'm going to lay my brush flat. There's no paint on it. And I'm now going to merge the background into the side of that pot just by wiggling it, going like this, really, really small. Wiggle, 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 like that. And then I wipe it off, and then I'll come down like this, have this beautiful, nice, softened edge. Do it over here a little bit, really exaggerating. But it begins, and then I can, of course, I can come back in with more white and kind of create this reshape kind of thing. But I'm getting this nice illusion that it's going back into space, and that's the point of that. So you don't have this sharp edge. And the same thing will happen up here if I get around to that. The same thing on these guys. They've almost created their own soft edge, but I'm going to try to see if I can do this too. I'm going to just merge a little bit of the background into the side of this. I love this one. It's really coming along great. And just softening the edge into the background. If I don't have the background, put it in when I've got the veggies already in there, then I don't have anything to blend those fruits into. If I paint the whole background a bright red or whatever, and then I paint the fruits and vegetables on top of them, I'm going to have to deal with that color. And it might not match, and it might not work, or it might change the color that I want. It'll keep it from staying fresh. So now I'm going to just come along and soften. I can really, really, really soften it. I got a frog. And I can really soften it. And some artists really do that, where you'll have what's called a lost edge. There are found lines, sharp edges, soft edges, broken edges and lost edges. Time to. But meanwhile, if I want to completely lose that, I could by just taking the background and striking it right into onion, and it will look pretty darn cool. Now I'm losing the edge of this shadow a little bit on purpose. What happens up here? I've got this bright thing up here I want to emphasize a little bit. Okay, and it's orange and yellow, and actually the thing behind it on my tabaret over here, I don't see that, no. Okay, I'm going to come up here and I'm going to say, all right, yellow, orange, I'm going to back it up with purple, just because I want to show you the wonderful contrast between purple, yellow. I'm not being too concerned with my table, am I? Oh well, that's all right. We're playing today. Give yourself a play space, not just, you don't want to have just a tight little detail where you're making a project for your grandma and it has to be just right. You can do that, but you also need a place to play. One side is your left brain painting, okay, where you draw everything out very carefully and you kind of fill in with the color. That's called left brain painting. Right brain painting is kind of like this, okay? Just go for it. Do some experimenting. Doesn't matter if it turns out or not. And you're going to learn something. Give yourself permission to learn by doing this kind of playing around and saying, okay, what would happen if I did this? You can just wipe it off in the end. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. You're not going to waste a canvas. You just paint over it later. Just wipe it off, start over, and say, wow, wasn't that fun? Right. So here's our dark. So now you can see that contrast between, I got to check something out. I got to see if you can really see this. Bring that forward a little. Does that make it look darker? So same thing here. You can do this with Q-tips or a little fuzzy brush, but I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to now come in and take my little squash and I'm going to wiggle that and soften it into the background. Now he starts looking like he's round that edge because softening it. You can get too carried away and lose the entire thing. But just practice it. Do this kind of a practice. A lot of fun. A lot of fun to practice. Okay, now if I want to, I'm going to make sure I should put a little shadow on here. I think I will. Oops, that's kind of brown. I like brown, but it'll work. Muting it out. Vignette. Of course, we don't have enough time today to actually do a full full painting at this stage. Let me know if you want to see some of the longer ones. I have some that are longer on YouTube. Just you just have to endure a long video. That's all. I like doing these short ones. So anyway, now I'm going to take my. Actually, I want to get a let's see, clean rag. Where did I put those? Been using the same one this whole time. Whoa. Okay. Somebody's underwear. No, it's a t-shirt. Now I'm going to go like this. I'm going to get a little bit of my medium on my rag at this stage, and I'm just going to kind of fuzz it out just for fun, and then we'll wrap it up a little bit. But see, I can do this thing, I call it vignetting, which just means, making it look as though it's just kind of illuminated in the center. A little darker with that at some point, but it fuzzes it out like it's in a cloud. Rags are great, of them. You can do all kinds of fun things. Been working on another piece. Guess what happened today? I'm so excited. I did get accepted into a gallery here in McCall. It's called Gallery 55. So I'm going to be starting to show there on September. I'm going to be installing on September 30th, and we're going to be showing throughout much of the month of October. So if you're in town, come take a look at some work at Gallery 55. And then I do have a show, of course, at the end of the month. Good Lord, in where am I? In Hood River at the Sustain Design Center. And so that's going to be really fun. I've got a lot of work to do. If I have one that I could show you that I just set down. Yeah. Oh, it's behind me. I'll bring that up front and then you can see it. Okay. Anyway, that's not a formal painting here, but you get an idea of some of the things that you could do with still life. Bring this up just a little closer. Oh, geez. I knew that was going to happen. Oh, this is a heavy canvas. There we go. Okay. Let's take a look at it just a little closer. A little bit more of what I've been doing from such a distance. Wow, is that a lopsided pot? That's all right. You take your time and make it a little bit better. It'll cause myself all kinds of grief here, but all right. One little peek at the piece that I'm working on right now. And this is one called Butter Peony. That's a heavy canvas as well. It's very, very, yeah. All right. I'm going to cause an accident if I'm not careful. But this is one that I'm doing for my gallery shows. And so I hope we get a chance. I'm going to drop it. Oh. Okay, a little flower in the wind. Unplanned comedy. Oh, great. Okay, don't forget to subscribe and share with your friends and let everybody know that on Thursday night, this is where you're supposed to be, 7 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Pacific Time. If you're in London, I have no idea what time it is. You're probably all right. Get out of bed and watch. Yeah, everybody else did. Okay. So thanks you guys so much for watching and for supporting this channel. I really, really, really appreciate it. I got some. And we will see you again next time at NettieKStudio. And if you want to be notified for upcoming videos and different things, don't forget to do the subscribe thing. Bell. But hit the bell. I think it gives you a reminder what. And you can go visit my website, NettieK.com, which is www.letterk.com, and you can probably more of my stuff and come to class, right? Okay, love you guys. Probably just put paint on my face. All right, see you again next time.